I want to drag their dead political bodies through the streets, burn them, and throw them off the wall, legally, politically, and financially, of course. Now, Davis has said he's not going in the new administration, but he was a clerk for Justice Gorsuch. And again, Donald Trump Jr. said this is the kind of guy that could be Attorney General.
Well, look, the fact of the matter is you haven't heard that from Donald Trump.
But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
Hello, everybody. Guys, you won't believe what Vivek Ramaswamy says here. He says Trump, one of his main goals is to unite the country. Pay attention to this.
I think he cares about uniting the country. I think that is Donald Trump's #1 focus. And I do think we have to get back to a place after this election, after that decisive victory, which I do think was a gift to the country, get back to a place where ordinary Americans who might have voted differently amongst their family members or their colleagues or their neighbors to be able to get together at the dinner table and say we're still Americans at the end of this. That's very much Donald Trump's headspace. He's also learned a lot from that first term, and I think he's going into this second term even to take to new heights some of the things he wasn't able to accomplish in the first term, which I think is going to be a good thing.
I want to come back to that unity theme, but first, I've heard you say that this is a new Republican Party. So in brief...
Yeah, it's a new Republican Party. It's more racist than ever. I mean, unity... This guy was completely laughed at when he was campaigning. Of people told him, you know, I like you and I like your ideas and I like that you support Trump, but I won't vote for you because you're Hindu. Ann Coulter said that she wouldn't vote for him because he's Indian. Guys, actually, let's check this out. He was completely humiliated. Let's look at this right now.
You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory. And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
Of the voters bloc, what percentage of the voter bloc agrees with her?
So say in the Republican primary?
In the Republican primary to say, you know what, I'm not going to, even if it's 1%, 2%, 3%, what do you think it is?
So I will tell you this with confidence. It is a lot higher than I believed it was a year ago.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I didn't have anybody come up and say that because of, well, there were people on social media who would make an argument.
And guys, that doesn't include all the disgusting things about cats, dogs, and nasty things about immigration, poisoning the blood, Democrats are enemies of the people, all these nasty things. Really, this guy is here to bring unity? He did the opposite. He increased fascism and racism acceptance in this country. And you know it. You're so disgusting. And as an Indian man, which they're starting to get a lot of hate right now, there's a lot of racism going on against Indians right now. This is so disgusting. These people are so disgusting. You've turned your back on your own people. I don't know how these guys sleep at night.
How is this different from the old Republican Party? What's the key differential?
Well, it's a party that's now a multi-ethnic working class coalition. You saw black voters, Hispanic voters, young voters. That was a big one. A much younger composition of the Republican primary base coming together on basic principles that really weren't as beholden to older Republican orthodoxies, but principles like free speech, anti-censorship, meritocracy, staying out of World War III. These are some of the common threads that brings together what is a pretty diverse and broad tent coalition to...
Guys, think about what he's saying. Anti-censorship, anti-whatever woke or whatever he said, anti-World War III. What he's really saying is let Putin and Russia do whatever they want, take over Ukraine, and the inevitable take over more land. And then we'll have to actually get into a World War III with them when they're much more bigger and powerful. And the anti-censorship, anti-whatever online, they just want to be able to say the N-word. They just want to be able to call people slurs and not get in trouble for it. And for advertising companies to still pay Elon Musk to support that nastiness. I'm sorry, but when you do that, when you allow that, it may say like, oh, it's free speech. It sounds so, in a vacuum, it sounds normal. But what this quote unquote free speech does is that it demonizes people. It puts people in danger. When you let them to be attacked online, unfettered, there should be consequences for these things. I'm sorry. Because these people will never do that in real life. Would you go up to a black man and you say the N-word? Why wouldn't you? Because you'll probably get your ass whooped. So you go online and you create what I would say is even more danger and more dangerous than doing it in person. Right, and that this community gets bigger and bigger, and it's this manosphere thing, guys. I'm telling you, this Andrew Tate, these Jordan Peterson freaks, that told men that it's okay to be vile. That's essentially what they're saying. It's okay to be vile and disgusting, and treat women like less than, and to treat minorities like less than. This is what they've taught. I'm sorry.
Restore those basic constitutional principles. Here's a big one, and Donald Trump's talked for a long time about the deep state. But this idea of restoring self-governance is big in this new coalition. The idea that the people we elect to run the government, they haven't been the ones actually running the government for a very long time. Donald Trump is going to be the president of the United States in the real sense of that word, capital P president, where he is actually making the decisions with the democratic will of the people behind him, not the unelected bureaucratic class underneath him. And I think that's something that unites a common thread of even former Democrats to independents to libertarians to, of course, traditional Republicans as well. I think that that's a common thread that unites us.
But let me ask you about the unity, and I think you've referred to this as a resurgence of national unity. I'm hearing that from some people around the former president, but I'm hearing a very different message from others around the former president. For example, Mike Davis, who had been mentioned by Donald Trump Jr. as a possible candidate for attorney general in a new Trump administration, has been calling for all-out revenge against Trump's opponents. I want to give you just a couple of examples, and believe me, there are many, but a couple of examples of what he has said on X. He says Trump's opponents attempted to bankrupt him for non-fraud, imprison him for non-crimes, and take him off the ballot, and take off his head. Now they want unity. F them. Let's unify them in prison. And one more, short one. Here's my current mood. I want to drag their dead political bodies through the streets, burn them, and throw them off the wall, legally, politically, and financially, of course. Now, Davis has said he's not going.
Guys, I want you to understand, this is MAGA. For those out there that joined the right and voted for Trump because you thought he was funny and cool, whatever, this is what they stand for. I mean, these guys are really disgusting. Do you really think this is acceptable? And I'm sorry, if you're an immigrant or someone of color, they see this. They would like for this to happen to you too. I'm sorry, they just do. They think of you as less than, including you, Ramaswamy, no matter how many millions you have, no matter how much you suck up to Donald.
In the new administration, but he was a clerk for Justice Gorsuch. And again, Donald Trump Jr. said that this is the kind of guy that could be attorney general.
Well, look, the fact of the matter is you haven't heard that from Donald Trump, and you could airlift any quote from a number of people on the left who aren't very happy.
Are you kidding me? Donald Trump has called for firing squad, shoot reporters, one brutal bloody day to remove immigrants. Like, are you insane? Ramaswamy, you were humiliated by the own people that went to your town hall to see you. They essentially told you because you're Indian, they will not vote for you.
With the election result either, but who aren't going into the Harris-Biden administration in their trailing days either. What you're hearing from Donald Trump is he is going to be a president for all Americans. He is a guy who, in that first term, he had crowds chanting, "Lock her up" for Hillary Clinton. He didn't prosecute her. I think Donald Trump is focused on what makes people's lives better. And actually, my message to Democrats out there, even those who didn't.
He tried to prosecute her, right? The Durham report and all that crap that they tried to pull. It just didn't work. They didn't have anything on her.
Vote for Donald Trump is to give him a chance to actually make your life better. And I think a lot of people across the country, even who have bought into, I think, some false narratives about Donald Trump, are going to be pleasantly surprised as to finding more money in their paycheck, prices coming down in the country, a secure border. Those are things most Americans actually care about. And I think it's time to turn the page on a lot of these histrionics or Hitler comparisons or airlifting some quote of some person who Donald Trump.
I mean, this is somebody who's been pretty.
The way he defends racism after literally called out by Ann Coulter like that, someone who is on the far right, who does represent MAGA. Guys, Trump sat with Nick Fuentes, that sick fuck. That's a self-avowed Nazi white nationalist who's giggling, talking about women's rights and saying that your bodies are ours now. Like, this is who you support. I mean, these guys are so disgusting. They would do anything for power. Vivek Ramaswamy is obviously not a dumb guy. He's just a vile, disgusting guy and willing to sell his soul for power.
defender of Trump, pretty close to the team.
And by your acknowledgement, someone who's not coming into the administration.
Okay, so all the talk of retribution, is that gone now? And by the way, I've heard you say that he didn't prosecute Hillary Clinton. I mean, I've talked to Bill Barr about this. He wanted the Justice Department to prosecute, you know, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and they kind of pulled him back. But your sense is that that retribution talk is done?
I'm going to tell you what Donald Trump has said on this time and again. Success will be our retribution. Success will be our vengeance. That's a direct line from Donald Trump. It's a beautiful sentiment. And I do think that success is unifying. Nothing's going to unite this country more than economic growth. Nothing is going to unite this country more than people feeling like their wages are rising at a faster pace than prices, which hasn't been the case for the last few years. And here's a big one that I know a lot of Democrats should support and do support as well, is restoring stability and peace on the global stage. I mean, the reality is the United States of America is at our best when the chief diplomat of the United States is the democratically elected U.S. president. That's not the case right now. It hasn't been for 4 years. That changes on January 20th, bringing us off the brink of major conflicts in other parts of the world. So I think that those are going to unite the country regardless of partisan affiliation. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Is he going to continue to support Ukraine? I mean, I've heard from the Ukraine side that the call actually went well that he had.
Yeah.
Elon Musk and President Trump with President Zelensky?
I think his interactions with Zelensky in recent weeks and months have been actually quite constructive. Donald Trump's first term is a great guide for stability. We were on the brink of major conflict when Donald Trump sat down with Barack Obama at that last transition. He's sitting down with Joe Biden on Wednesday. Donald Trump is a pragmatist in looking after American interests, and he believes in honesty when it comes to international diplomacy. He is the top diplomat, but I think also a tough love message to other allies, even saying that you need to bear your fair share of your defense spending. Yes, that's good for the United States, but yes, that's also good for Europe as well. And so I think that type of honesty and diplomacy is actually going to bring true strength and true peace in a way that we haven't seen in the last 4 years.
Guys, the way he just lies, honesty and Trump, the way he can just say that in a sentence over and over. I just don't get how these guys do it. These guys belong in Hollywood. He's just such a snake, a worm. These guys are the most harmful, I think. I think you look at Trump and you hear the things he says, it's expected, you call it out. These guys are slime balls. They clean up the nasty work that Trump leaves. The divisiveness, the racism, the fascism. His job is to clean this stuff up and sanitize it and make it palatable for most American people that are not paying attention as much and are just not that plugged in.
Now, obviously, Trump's promised, and you've talked a lot about this, the mass deportation of undocumented immigrants. First of all, do you really think that we're going to see him round up and deport upwards of 11? Sometimes he's put the number as high as 20 million people out of the United States. Is that really going to happen?
Donald Trump's campaign promise was the largest mass deportation in American history.
Okay.
And he's going to keep that promise. And I'll tell you, let's just start very pragmatically here. I think most Americans agree with this. You take the number of people who have entered the country just in the last 18 to 24 months. That's millions of undocumented immigrants, illegal migrants, who have really no place in this country. Anybody who's committed a crime. Automatically, that already is the largest mass deportation in American history. Now take that to the next level. Not an iota, not a cent of government spending should go to subsidize this, not to sanctuary cities, not to federal aid to people who are in this country illegally. And we're going to see a large number, by the millions, of self-deportations as well. And so these are pragmatic places to start that would give us, yes, the largest mass deportation in American history.
But fall far short of 11 million or more.
We're going to go step by step aggressively. Donald Trump's going to stay true to his campaign pledge, but in a way that respects the dignity of the Americans who are already here.
Okay,
and I do think it's offensive to use, when we have $34 trillion of national debt, government funds to subsidize this type of illegal migration. That's half the problem. And if any illegal migrant is no longer a customer of the welfare state, you're going to see self-deportations.
Guys, that's so disgusting to say the whole welfare state thing. Like, these guys are paying into the billions of dollars. I forgot how much it was in the past 4 years. Something like close to $100 billion they're paying into a social security system that they're not getting nothing out of. You know how they're doing that? Because when they work, they get taxed. They get social security removed from them. Like, this is insane to say that they're sucking resources from the country. You deport that many people, it will put a hole in the GDP. These guys are so disgusting, and they hire a lot of the companies Trump ran hired undocumented workers for lower wages. I mean, these guys are just absolutely gross, and the the way Hispanics voted overwhelmingly for Trump, I understand that they may not know about these things, but pay the F attention. Like, this is crazy. To have this close the door behind me mentality, I understand. Inflation has hurt us all. If Trump was president and he won the presidency, inflation will still be where it is. Right? You will still be hurting. I don't think that's Harris's fault. I don't think that's Biden's fault. It's just part of the economic cycle. This is what was just going to happen.
Combined with deportations of those who entered.
Let me ask you, though, I mean, there's been a lot of attention over the years to people known as the Dreamers. These are people who came into the United States with their parents as young children, grew up here, went to school here, some of them great success stories, but they are still undocumented immigrants. And there's a lot of concern. Some of them are deeply frightened by what they heard from Donald Trump during the campaign. I want to play just two, the words from two of these Dreamers of what they've said of their concerns now after the election and get you to respond.
I could wake up tomorrow and there could be an immigration agent, an ICE agent outside of my house or outside of my mom's house. We don't know.
We are not what you're seeing on TV. We are people who have been living here for over 10 years who call Arizona home.
Guys, these undocumented immigrants are committing crimes at a lower rate than Americans. They're paying into benefits that the American people receive without getting anything back. To demonize them like this, I get it. If you commit a crime as an illegal immigrant, that should be priority. You should get the F out of here. But for these people that are clearly not doing anything wrong and contributing to the society, what happened to give me you're poor, you're weak? I think it's unbelievable. I really, and Vivek, you're not from this country. For you to have this attitude, this close the door, close the borders mentality. Jeez.
I mean, they're worried about getting that knock on the door.
Look, I say this is the kid of legal immigrants to this country. It's the proud child of legal immigrants to the United States of America. If your first act of entering this country broke the law, that doesn't allow...
Okay, I guess he wasn't from this country. Well, his parents, regardless.
...you to remain in this country. You have no right to enter the United States.
I mean, they came in as illegally. 2 or 3, 5 years old.
Well, let me just say a few words about this. I think we're going to be pragmatic. A few basic principles that all Americans agree with are this, okay? One is no migration without consent. Think about your nation like a body. Number two is that consent should only be granted and should be granted to migrants who benefit the United States of America. But those who enter without consent must be removed.
Well,
and I think that those are very pragmatic principles.
So they must be removed. These people that have spent their entire lives growing up.
I'm going to separate two discussions here. First is let's talk about what the legal immigration system ought to look like. Yeah. Do we have a broken legal immigration system? Yes, we do. But I think the first step is going to be to restore the rule of law, to do it in a very pragmatic way, Jonathan, pragmatic way that says, let's just start. I don't think you disagree with me. I would hope not. I don't think most Americans do, to say those who have entered in the last couple of years, they haven't established roots in the country. Those who have committed a crime, they should be out of this country. That is by the millions. That alone would be the largest mass deportation. Combine that with ending government aid for all illegals. You see self-deportations. And I want to say one more thing, because this is important to the second term. Don't forget the second mass deportation that we require as well, and I use this figuratively. The mass deportation of millions of unelected federal bureaucrats out of the D.C. bureaucracy.
We're out of...
All right, I'm going to end it there. I don't know how he just tried to make that twist, but these guys are just absolutely gross. To say that Trump is the unity guy, really? This is the tax break guy, tariffs that are going to increase the cost for certain goods on Americans. This is unbelievable. These people forget what Trump did. These farmers, all these people forgot who Trump was. Maybe, guys, this is a blessing that Trump won the presidency and people can see further what the Republican Party is doing and who they are. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you for watching. If you got all the way to the end, extra thank you to you guys. Leave a comment. I read all of them. I'll try to get back to you. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.